Democrats already have American blood on their hands, and they're eager, it seems, for more. The Iranians have so run out of people that they could put in the position of supreme leader, they've decided to choose someone who is unconscious. And the Americans are proving why the aircraft carrier is not obsolete, but rather extremely useful in modern warfare. And the only thing that's obsolete on them, apparently, is their toilets. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Ripple Effect. So to start off with, there was a planning on part of the Iranians to overwhelm American naval power. And how they planned on doing that was by a bunch of drones, and they were just going to send these drone swarms. And everyone was warning that these drone swarms were going to be overwhelming, we weren't going to be able to do anything about it, and they were going to engage, we were going to have to send out our missiles, our defenses were going to be basically depleted, right? Because, I mean, you have, like, the destroyers that carry, well, not carry the destroyers, but the guided missile destroyers. Those ones only carry something like 90 missiles, and if you can send out 1,000 drones, I mean, that's going to be wiped out very rapidly, very quickly. And then what do? It's not like you can, recoup that very quickly. Well, people forget that one of the great advantages of the American Navy is our power. Our electrical systems are incredible. And that not just that, but the aircraft carriers have 2 nuclear reactors on board, and they don't even use the complete usage out of one. The idea being that any further advancements that were required in the future, they have an enormous platform to build them on, with the infrastructure to be able to destroy things through electrical, means. And what's crazy is they've already demonstrated, they have like the Helios and the Odin systems that they put in on, that we've already know are on several of our ships. And we already know that they've been engaging with lasers, microwave weapons, and this is just the stuff that we know about already. Wiping out drone swarms in an instant, able to scramble their optics and so on. And we're realizing very quickly, and I never thought that they were obsolete, but we're realizing very quickly that they are not obsolete at all. In fact, they said, well, with the drone capabilities, eventually they're not going to need aircraft. Aircraft can fly so much faster currently than drones, and yet we can also use aircraft and drones simultaneously by having the Rio in the back, or the weapons systems officer in the back of the 2-person jets controlling the drones. So there's so much capability built into these systems that it's showing that to Iran and to the rest of the world that these monstrosities on the ocean are extremely useful and extremely powerful, and we don't even know all the capabilities they have. We only know what we've seen. And some of those laser weapons, they've actually gotten pictures of like released footage, and so we know that they're on the vessels. We just don't know how much they're actually using them. But we do know that Israel was using quite a bit of laser technology to take out all of the missiles. I mean, will missiles become a thing of the past now? I don't know. I mean, if you can take it out with a laser that's free, basically, except for the cost of the laser, to build the laser and then electricity to run it, it's going to seem obsolete to even if your drones are $20,000 or a couple $1,000 like these Iranian ones are. And they're sending them at a ship that has endless power through the turbines, through the nuclear turbines, and can just generate the power. It doesn't seem to be much use. And as a final note, for those of people out there that still wonder if aircraft carriers are worth it, if they weren't worth it, then why is there, a 90,000-ton monstrosity sailing the seas for China called the Fujian? They tried mimicking the Ford carrier. Why? Because they're not obsolete. Now, to be fair, the Fujian has a diesel, so it kind of is obsolete, but the Ford, thankfully, is not. Now, the Iranians have picked the son of the Ayatollah Khomeini, or Khamenei, or whatever they call him now, to be the next supreme leader. And the funny part is, he's apparently unconscious, so he has no choice. So you can imagine the other people are getting in line to be the next leader, and they're getting taken out, and they're finally like, who can't say no? The guy that's unconscious over there. I feel bad for him. Apparently, he was hit in the initial strike on his dad's house, and lost his leg in the process. And so because of that, he's still unconscious from that entire trauma. And when the IRGC had their swearing in ceremony where they swore allegiance to him, they literally had to have a poster of him there because they don't have him there because he's unconscious, and they're hiding him. And plus, it'd be a great target to have would be all the IRGC people getting together swearing in. So I'm surprised Israel hadn't bombed that, but whatever. The crazy part, though, is apparently, the original Ayatollah, his father, had said in his will that he absolutely did not want this one to be the next guy. Then why is he? Is it because, like Trump said, they've gone through the first tier and second tier of leadership, and there's no one else, and so they're like, okay, let's go with this? Again, this is Iran, who is very, very much against heretical families' continuing lineage of control. So we'll see. We'll see what the result is there, but as of this point, their leader is unconscious. He's an unconscious guy, and he can't give any orders, so I don't know how useful that is for him. Now, on to the most important topic of today. And what do I mean when I say that the Democrats have American blood on their hands? Well, first, it's obvious if you know anything about the American politics. In America, this is true. And you can probably think, if I said, think of why American blood would be on the hands of the Democrats, you can answer that question. And if you can't, then you're probably lying to yourself. Now, first of all, I could mention the millions of babies wiped out each year because of politics and abortion. I could mention that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I could mention the people killed, molested, and even worse by illegals that the Democrats have just allowed to come in and come into the country because they need their votes to win. And don't get me started on the case that people say, and I don't know why they say this, but the Democrats even tried to deny that they bring these illegals in to vote. They try to deny this. But if that's the case, why in the world, and I'm not even asking this as a question. I'm not asking this as a question. I'm accusing here, okay? Senator Chris Coons decides to go after Kristi Noem. Again, she's an idiot, but whatever. Kristi Noem, and he's hammering her and grilling her and wanting her to tell him the truth. Will you say that you won't have ICE agents at the polling booths? Why? And the answer is obvious. And we're fools and we're stupid if we don't accept them at their own word. If we were to... Why would you be so opposed to ICE being at the voting booth? It's because you want to cheat, you want to steal elections, and that's the only way you can keep your power. And you think that. Because otherwise you wouldn't let the cat out of the bag. So that's true. So don't even give me that nonsense. But all of that is not what I'm talking about as much as how every act of violence by the left is encouraged and promoted as long as it's against conservatives or can be used for their purposes. I could start with the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the reactions that happened and were even encouraged by people on the left. Them saying things like, well, he was a rabble rouser. He was out there stirring up trouble, and he was an activist. Not even mentioning the fact that he was the single man who's most responsible in this country for trying to educate these young people and get them off of the crazy, stupid reliance upon everyone else, where they think that they're a victim on everything, and they had to go after him. Then you can go to the coverage of violence against other conservatives and how they are classified, their violence is classified in a special way to keep those people out of jail. But it doesn't even end there. They provided a constant flow now, we see it proven in New York, but a constant flow of Muslims into this country that are the most radical and crazy and provided for them financially. And don't tell me there's not a concerted effort from the Democrats to do this. Okay, there's probably like a Democrat just standing there ready to go, some politician saying, hey, I'll show you how to get on the public till. But we can see how they financially provide for them, like in Minnesota, through fraud and taxpayer monies. And if you don't think that's true, then you've not been paying attention to Minnesota. And why do they do it? Why do they do that? Because they want the money, and some of that, they want the money to go to them, to take care of them so they can get the votes, and some of that money still makes its way back to the Democratic Party. So they steal out of your pocket. If you're not Democrat, and Democrats too, they steal out of your pockets. Any taxpayer, they steal out of your pockets to pay for their fraud so that these people will vote for them so they can get more power and money. It's this constant loop that they have figured out. But even that's not completely what I'm talking about. There was a protest against Mondani in New York. It was next to his house. And there was a Muslim attack, a Muslim ISIS, I guess you'd call it, because they got radicalized, attack on the protest, not on Mondani, on the protest, very clearly on the protest, the anti-Muslim protest. And the reporters and the reports from it are telling a completely different story. And I've held off on this story. I really have. I've held off on the story because I was thinking about how I wanted to approach it. And you should have seen the reports by this point. And if you haven't, you can look them up. But it'll tell you everything you need to know about how the media and the Democrats both want to kill you. They do. And you say, well, what do you mean? They don't mind having your blood on their hands. They don't. One, they don't see it that way. But they want you either dead or you have to surrender completely to their crushing control by them, or they prefer you dead. Those are the two options. Because either you have to knuckle down and do every single thing that they want, agree that it's okay to have transgenderism, agree to gay marriages, and agree to the mutilation of children, and agree to abortion, and agree to every nasty, wicked, horrible sin that they want, or they want you dead. Because their conscience bears them out that what they're doing is wickedness. And you have to ask yourself, can we continue as a country where one side of the country wants the other side dead? And I can, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, say that there is not a good, true conservative out there that wants the other side hurt. Not alone dead. We want them to understand. We want them to learn. We want them to grow. But that's who we are. They are the ones that want people dead. We are the ones that want people alive through real living through the living word of God. That's what we want. And to summarize all of this, I'm going to show you the mild report from CNN. This is the mild one from CNN. Excuse me. The mild one from CNN says this. Let me pull it up. Of course not. Don't die on me. 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Sunday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormal warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would be dramatically changed as the pair would be arrested. That's what changed their lives. Being arrested. For throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of the Mayor Zohran Mamdani's house. And here's what we know so far. Of course, the reactions were interesting. Michael Knowles said, classic Pennsylvania teenage behavior. Throwing IEDs and pledging allegiance to ISIS. Boys will be boys. Making fun of them, of course. Mary Margaret Olahan, which is the reporter for Daily Wire, said CNN really twisted itself into every possible linguistic puzzle for this tweet. Your average American left to assume that these poor PA teenagers were part of some social justice initiative. The Heritage Foundation said, can you believe that the abnormally warm weather made them do this? And then Brent Shure, which I don't know who he is, he said, This new this morning might be the worst post ever sent on X. And that was the mild one, guys. The other ones said, IEDs found next to Mayor Mamdani's house during a protest against him. Well, that sounds like they're implying that it was the protesters that did it, not the Muslim anti-protesters that were there, like the protesters to the protesters. No, it wasn't the people that were protesting Mamdani that did this. It's the crazy loony lefties. Get it right. And when we have knowledge, we have power. And we have power. We can make a difference, so we can stop the bleeding of our country. We are the country. We are the party behind the police to defend people, the innocent and the poor and the needy and the helpless. We are the party that wants to have a country that understands the Bible and God's word. And you say, how dare we? No, yes. We've always understood the value of God. And the God of the founders was not the God that they're presenting here. It was not the God of the Muslims. In fact, we fought against a Muslim nation. It was as our first act. We could defend this country. This knowledge is important so we can have a country that's built on godly principles where we can restore some of the sanity that is required in our country for us to survive and for our children to survive. Enough of the Democrats bleeding out the conservative part of the country. Enough of our people being wiped off the face of this earth, whether through abortion or through assassinations. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? This channel is small, but we can do big things if we work together. Please like, comment, and subscribe and help us to push it out there so we can make a difference. We do not make a difference when no one hears. There's no point of shouting into the void if no one's going to listen. But we can make a difference with knowledge. Hype the video, push it out there. Please, thank you so much.